Well, I don't think Casemiro's positioning this season has been as disciplined as it was last season. But I don't see. This is part of the challenge I have from when the season is still too raw and too young. It's that it's really hard to know what sample size to bring forward. We still don't know everything yet. We still don't know how this is going to play out, what the 11 will be. I mean, we obviously know Casemiro is going to play. Last season, if you remember, positionally, it took him time to become a little bit more disciplined with his positioning. So it actually improved over time. And Real Madrid's defense as a whole was as a nightmare, actually, up until around Christmas time, it started to get a little bit better. I remember that PS3 3-0 game. You know, the amount of takes that came in after that game was incredible. And I was pretty critical of that performance too, especially defensively. The press, of the positioning, everything. Turns out two players who played in that game, James and Bale, were just basically irrelevant for the rest of the season, and the team actually got better. So it's very hard to know what to bring forward, but there's also two ways you can look at this. One is like, well, all those cutbacks that Levante had, it would have been much worse, much more damaging had it been somebody better. Like let's just say it was Sevilla cutting those back to like, you know, it's like Navas cutting it back to either De Jong or a Campos or something like that. It would have been much more dangerous if the cutback's a little bit more calculated. On the flip side, one could argue, well, in a big game like against Sevilla, Real Madrid would be more up for it, and they would raise their game and they would be more locked in. I don't know.
Well, that's what I hope.
Yeah, that's what you'd hope. So again, it's hard, but I would say like I think Real Madrid dodged some bullets here. I think the only reason that Levante's XG is low is not because they didn't have an insane volume of attacks. It's because once they got into those positions, they didn't get necessarily the highest quality shot that they could have gotten. And that's why it was a little bit low. So
I will also say that XG, I think, underrated one shot for Levante when, if you remember, in the 77th minute, Clerc, he gets the 1-versus-1 with Courtois from a wide angle. Courtois saves it. XG is low there, which I agree with because of the angle. And then he crosses it back in to Malero, who heads wide. And in that moment, like, the goal is completely open, and he just heads over. And obviously, like, unless it's like Stat Bomb Model or something, it's even maybe them underrate that a little bit. So, like, that's the one thing I'll say where, like, that was a really good chance because Courtois was out of position. But other than that, yeah, I would agree that they didn't really exploit stuff as well.